Who gave you the flowers?
At exactly 9:07 a.m., Nyla Cross knew her carefully constructed world was about to collapse. Ha-Jun stood frozen in the doorway of his office, his Tom Ford suit immaculate, his jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle twitching beneath his skin. He wasn't looking at her. He was staring at the extravagant bouquet on her desk. Burgundy dahlias, white peonies, eucalyptus, like it had personally offended him. Who sent those? His voice was soft, too soft, the kind of soft that made grown men in boardrooms sweat. Nyla's fingers stilled on her keyboard. In 18 months of working as his executive assistant, Beck Ha-Jun had never asked about her personal life, never raised his voice, never looked at her the way he was looking at her now, like she'd committed treason. "A friend," she said carefully. "What friend?" He moved closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne mixed with something darker. Anger. Possession. Someone I've known a long time. Before she could stop. Him, Ha-Jun picked up the card tucked between the peonies. His eyes scanned the words, and Nyla watched his knuckles go white around the small paper. He read aloud, each word dropping like stones into water. "Saturday can't come fast enough. Love you, T." The silence that followed was suffocating. "You have plans Saturday?" Ha-Jun's eyes met hers, and there was something feral in them, something she'd only seen once before when a client had touched her lower back during a meeting and found his contract terminated by lunch. "Yes. Cancel them." Nyla blinked. "Excuse me. Cancel them." He dropped the card back on her desk and walked into his office, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the financial district. The bullpen of Beck Holdings went dead quiet. 20 assistants and junior executives suddenly found their computer screens fascinating. Nyla sat frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs. Dom, Ha-Jun's head of security, a former Marine with kind eyes and too many secrets, paused by her desk. "Be careful this weekend, Ms. Cross." What does that mean? But he was already gone, his hand resting on the gun concealed beneath his jacket. If you're already hooked, smash that subscribe button right in the face because this story is about to get dark. And drop a comment. Have you ever had a boss cross a line? Let's talk about it. Nyla stared at the closed office door, her mind racing. She'd survived 18 months by following 3 simple rules. Rule 1, never ask about the men in Blacktown cars who met Ha-Jun in his private elevator. Rule 2, never be late with the morning coffee. Rule 3, keep your personal life invisible. She'd just broken Rule 3 and she hadn't even meant to. The flowers were from Toby Wells, her best friend since they were 12, the gay photographer who was getting married next spring and had sent the bouquet as a thank you for designing his wedding invitations. The T stood for Toby, not some mysterious lover. But Ha-Jun certainly didn't need to know that. He has no right. Ha-Jun didn't know anything about her life outside these walls, and that had been intentional. Because Nyla had learned early that working for a man like Beck Ha-Jun meant maintaining distance. She'd heard the whispers. Second-generation Korean-American, heir to a real estate empire built on blood and backroom deals. His father, Beck Jae-sing, had been murdered 3 years ago, officially a mugging, but everyone knew it was an execution. Ha-Jun had inherited an empire he never wanted, but refused to let fall. She knew what he was. She'd known since month 4, when she'd seen the bruises on his knuckles, the late-night meetings with dangerous men, the way he'd fired that handsy client without explanation. She'd stayed anyway because the pay was extraordinary, because her mother's medical bills weren't going to pay themselves, and because, if she was honest, she'd been a little bit intrigued by the man behind the monster. But she'd never expected him to notice her. Not like this. Friday passed in hostile silence. Ha-Jun canceled all his meetings, worked behind closed doors, and didn't speak to her once. When she delivered his afternoon espresso at 3 p.m., double shot 82 degrees Celsius, exactly as he liked it, he didn't even look up. At 6 p.m., he left without a word. His driver told her, "He said you can go home, Miss Cross." Nyla sat at her desk until 7, staring at the flowers. She should throw them away. Instead, she took them home to her cramped studio in Brooklyn, set them on her kitchen counter, and tried to pretend her hands weren't shaking. Saturday was supposed to be simple. She met Toby in Williamsburg and they hit vintage shops, laughed over bubble tea, took ridiculous photos for his Instagram. For a few hours, she forgot about the flowers, the strange tension, Ha-Jun's cold fury. Toby posted a carousel of photos. Nyla laughing in a bookstore. Nyla trying on a ridiculous hat. Neela mid-bite into a dumpling. Caption, birthday weekend with my favorite human. Nyla didn't see the notifications. She didn't know that Ha-Jun was sitting in his penthouse overlooking Central Park, whiskey in hand, scrolling through every single photo. She didn't know he'd already identified Toby, run a background check, and discovered the man was engaged to someone named Devin. She didn't know that Ha-Jun had spent 18 months watching her, memorizing the way she took her coffee, the sound of her laugh, the graceful way she moved through his world like she wasn't afraid of him. And she had no idea that seeing her smile at another man, even in innocent friendship, had cracked something open inside him that he'd been desperately trying to keep locked away. Sunday came and went. No email about Monday's schedule. Nyla checked her access to his calendar. Still active. She saw he was at the office, working through the weekend, ignoring her. She drank wine and re-watched Pride and Prejudice, trying not to think about why her boss's silence hurt more than it should. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Neela got to Bake Holdings at 6:47 a.m., made Ha-Jun's espresso with shaking hands, and carried it into his office. The lights were already on. He was sitting at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled to his elbows, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His laptop was open, and Nyla's stomach dropped when she saw her own face on the screen. Toby's Instagram, the carousel of photos, her smile frozen in pixels. "Sit down," Ha-Jun said quietly. "I should go." "Sit down." She set the espresso on his desk and sank into the chair across from him. Her pulse was a drum in her ears. "We need to talk about your weekend," Ha-Jun said. "That's not appropriate." "Was it worth it?" He stood, moved around the desk with predatory grace. "Lying to me?" "I didn't lie. You said a friend. You didn't say boyfriend." His voice cracked on the last word, and Nyla saw something raw and desperate flash across his face before he locked it down. "Because Toby isn't... Don't." He was close now. Too close, his hands braced on the arms of her chair, caging her in. "I've watched you for 18 months, Nyla. I know when you lie." She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The air between them was electric, dangerous. "You don't get to do this. You're my boss. You don't own my weekends, my friends, my life." "I know." The words came out strangled. "I know I don't, but I want to." The world stopped. "What?" Ha-Jun closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were filled with something that looked like agony. "I want to be the one who sends you flowers. I want to be the one you laugh with on Saturdays. I want to be the reason you smile like that." He pushed away from the chair, ran both hands through his hair. "This is why I didn't say anything, because I knew it would destroy everything we've built." Nyla stood on shaking legs. "Ha-Jun, I've been in love with you for 6 months." The confession tumbled out like he'd been holding it back so long it had turned toxic. "And watching you with him, seeing you happy with someone else, I wanted to burn down the world. I wanted to find him and make him disappear. And that's why you should run, Nyla. Because I'm not a good man. I'm my father's son, and men like me don't know how to love without destroying." "Toby is gay," she said. Ha-Jun froze. "What?" "He's engaged to a man named Devin. They're getting married next spring. Saturday was my birthday dinner. The flowers were a thank you for designing their wedding invitations. M stands for Marcus." She laughed, but it came out bitter and broken. "You've been jealous of my gay best friend." What happens next will change everything, but first, is Ha-Jun redeemable, or has he already crossed too many lines? Drop your thoughts below. The silence stretched between them like a chasm. Ha-Jun's face went through a series of emotions: shock, relief, then something darker: shame. "I'm an idiot," he whispered. "You tracked my Instagram. You demanded I cancel plans. You interrogated me about my personal life." Nyla's voice was rising now, 18 months of carefully maintained professionalism cracking apart. "That's not romantic. That's terrifying." "I know." He sank into his chair, covered his face with his hands. "I know, and I'd apologize, but we both know I'd do it again if I thought I was losing you." "That's not okay. Which is why you should quit." He looked up, and there were actual tears in his eyes. "Transfer to our London office. Full relocation package. Double your salary. I'll write you a recommendation that'll get you any job you want. Just..." His voice broke. "Just get away from me before I hurt you." Nyla stared at him, at this dangerous, powerful man who was offering to let her go, even though it was clearly killing him. And she thought about all the moments she'd pretended not to notice. The way he'd fired that client without explanation. The expensive tin of jasmine tea that had appeared on her desk the day after she'd mentioned loving it. The late nights when they'd been alone and he'd asked about her mother, her design work, her dreams, and he'd actually listened. Really listened. Like her words mattered. The scar on his hand from a car accident that she knew wasn't an accident at all. "I should quit," she said slowly, and watched him flinch. "I should walk out of here and never look back. Any sane woman would." "Yes, but I'm not going to." Ha-Jun's head snapped up. "Nyla, let me finish." She moved closer, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. "I've been in love with you since month 4, when you fired that client, when you noticed I was scared and you handled it without me asking. I've spent 18 months pretending I don't notice when you watch me, pretending my heart doesn't race when you say my name. Then you understand why this is dangerous. I understand that you're dangerous. I understand that your world is violent and dark, and I should run." She was right in front of him now, close enough to see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. "But I'm not naive, Ha-Jun. I grew up in Bed-Stuy. My mother cleaned offices in buildings like this one. I know what men like you are capable of, and I'm choosing this anyway. Nyla, shut up and kiss me." He did, and it was nothing like she'd imagined during those long nights when she'd let herself fantasize. It wasn't gentle or sweet. It was desperate, consuming, possessive. His hands tangled in her hair, her back hit the edge of his desk, and the coffee mug she'd carefully prepared crashed to the floor. Neither of them cared. When they finally broke apart, they were both shaking. "This doesn't fix the jealousy problem," Nyla whispered, against his mouth. "I know. Or the controlling thing. I know. If you ever track my phone without asking, you'll leave. I know." He cupped her face like she was something precious and breakable. "I'll try, Nyla. I'll try to be better, but I can't promise I'll succeed. Then we'll figure it out as we go." He kissed her again, softer this time, and Nyla felt something shift in her chest. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was possibly the worst decision she'd ever made. She'd never felt more alive. They kept the relationship secret at work, but barely. Stolen kisses in his office during lunch, her lipstick on his collar, the way he watched her during meetings like she was the only person in the room, the junior analysts whispered. Dom raised an eyebrow but said nothing, and Nyla learned what it meant to be loved by a man like Beck Ha-Jun. The flowers came every Friday, different arrangements, always with notes. "Thought of you? These reminded me of your..." Laugh, because Thursdays are too long without you. He learned to cook her favorite Jamaican dishes. His jerk chicken was terrible, but he tried, and she loved him for it. He introduced her to his sister Hannah, a corporate lawyer with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. Hannah took one look at them and pulled Nyla aside. "He's going to be a lot," Hannah said. "Set boundaries early. My brother doesn't know how to love in moderation." "I'm figuring that out." "Good. Because he's already halfway to obsessed, and if you let him, he'll swallow your whole life." Hannah squeezed her hand. "But he's also the most loyal person I know. He'll kill for you, die for you. Just make sure he doesn't suffocate you in the process." The warning should have scared her. Instead, Nyla found herself asking Ha-Jun to install a tracker on her phone. "For safety," she said when he looked surprised, "but you have to share your location too." He agreed immediately, and she pretended not to notice the black SUV that followed her everywhere, the security detail that materialized whenever she left the building, the way Ha-Jun's jaw would tighten if a man so much as smiled at her. She was learning to navigate his darkness. Most days, it was manageable. He'd check in. "Where are you? Are you safe?" And she'd answer honestly. He'd see her talking to a male colleague and his hands would curl into fists, but he'd breathe through it. Trust her. Other days, it was harder. A junior analyst named Marcus, unfortunate name that, had flirted with her at the holiday party. Nyla had shut him down politely, but Ha-Jun had seen. By Monday, Marcus had transferred to the Seattle office. "You can't fire everyone who looks at me," Nyla said that night in his penthouse. "I didn't fire him. I offered him a promotion." Ha-Jun pulled her onto his lap, buried his face in her neck. "I'm trying, Nyla. But when I see another man touching you, talking to you like he has a right, I want to break things. I know." "Does it scare you?" She thought about lying, decided he deserved honesty. "Sometimes. But then I remember you'd never hurt me. You'd hurt everyone else on the planet before you'd hurt me." Without hesitation, he confirmed, and kissed her like he was trying to prove it. But there were other signs of his world. The bruises on his knuckles that appeared after late-night meetings, the way he'd wake up screaming from nightmares about his father's murder, the dangerous men who came to his office in the private elevator, men with cold eyes and colder hearts. One night, 3 months into their relationship, Nyla woke to find Ha-Jun standing at the window, shirtless, staring out at the city. There was dried blood on his knuckles. "Ha-Jun, go back to sleep." She got out of bed, went to him, took his hand and examined the split skin. "What happened?" "Business." "That's not an answer." He looked at her then, and his eyes were hollow. "A man tried to move into our territory. He was warned. He didn't listen, so I made him listen." "Did you kill him?" "No, but I hurt him badly enough that he'll never forget who runs Koreatown." Ha-Jun pulled his hand away. "This is who I am, Nyla. This is the world you chose." She should have been horrified. Instead, she asked, "Have you ever killed anyone?" He didn't answer immediately. Then, "To protect what's mine." "Yes." The confession should have sent her running. Instead, she asked the question that had been burning in her chest. "Would you kill for me?" Without hesitation. No pause, no doubt. Nyla took his bloody hand and led him to the bathroom. She cleaned his knuckles with gentle care, wrapped them in gauze, and when she was done, she kissed each bandaged finger. "I need you to understand something," she said. "I'm not some fragile thing you keep in a tower. I grew up watching my mother work 3 jobs to keep us fed. I know how to survive. So stop asking me if I'm sure. I've already chosen you. Trust that." He pulled her close, and she felt him shaking. "I'm terrified I'll lose you." "Then hold on tighter." But they had no idea how hard he'd have to hold on, because 2 weeks later, Ha-Jun came home with an invitation to the New York Real Estate Summit, a black-tie gala at the plaza where Manhattan's elite gathered to make deals and settle scores. "I want you to come with me," he said, and Nyla heard the weight behind the words. "Okay. This is me telling the world you're mine. It's also me painting a target on your back." He took her hands. "Alexei Volkov will be there." "Who's that?" Ha-Jun's face went cold. "The man who killed my father, who thinks I owe him half my empire." He pulled her onto his lap, held her tight. "If you come with me, you're choosing this life. All of it. The danger, the violence, the fact that people will always want to hurt you to hurt me. So I need you to really think—" "Stop," Nyla interrupted. "Stop asking me if I'm sure. I'll go to your summit. I'll stand by your side. And if this Volkov wants to try something, he'll learn that I'm not easy prey." Ha-Jun stared at her. Then he smiled. Really smiled. The rare kind that made him look younger, almost innocent. "I love you." I know. She kissed him. Now tell me what I'm walking into. The dress arrived 3 days before the summit, custom-made emerald silk that pooled like water, with a neckline that was elegant but daring. Ha-Jun had insisted on paying. Nyla had negotiated splitting the cost because she refused to be a kept woman, even if she was sleeping with a billionaire. It's perfect, she breathed, running her fingers over the fabric. Ha-Jun appeared behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. You'll be the most beautiful woman there. I'll also be the only black woman on your arm in a room full of old money and older prejudices. Good. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them know exactly who you belong to. He turned her around, his eyes fierce. And if anyone disrespects you, I'll bury them. She believed him. That was the terrifying part. The night of the summit, Nyla stood in front of Ha-Jun's bathroom mirror and barely recognized herself. Her locks were styled in an elegant updo, her makeup flawless, the emerald dress hugging every curve. The diamonds at her throat, his mother's, a family heirloom he'd presented with shaking hands, caught the light and threw tiny rainbows across the marble walls. Ha-Jun appeared in the doorway, devastating in a custom tuxedo, and stopped breathing. Nyla. Too much? Not enough, never enough. He crossed to her, pressed a kiss to her bare shoulder. Last chance to change your mind. Not a chance. The Plaza Hotel was lit up like a jewel box. Photographers lined the red carpet, cameras flashing. Nyla felt Ha-Jun's hand settle on her lower back, warm, possessive, claiming, as they stepped out of the car. The cameras went insane. Mr. Beck, who's your date? Is this official? What's your name, miss? Ha-Jun ignored them all, but Nyla caught the headline forming already. Beck Air debuts Mystery Woman at Exclusive Summit. By morning, her face would be all over the society blogs. There was no going back now. Inside the ballroom, crystal chandeliers dripped. Light over Manhattan's power players. Old money in older jewelry. Politicians with practiced smiles. And beneath the glamour, the sharks. Men like Ha-Jun who'd built empires on blood and ambition. Ha-Jun introduced her to everyone. Investors with cold handshakes. Politicians who looked at her like she was a curiosity. Rivals who assessed her like livestock. His hand never left her lower back. The message was clear. She's mine. Touch her and die. You're doing great, he murmured during a lull. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He kissed her temple. Stay close to Dom. I have a meeting with some investors. 20 minutes, tops. Dom materialized at her elbow. Solid, reliable, armed. I've got her, boss. Ha-Jun hesitated, then nodded. He kissed her once, deep and possessive, before disappearing into a private room off the main ballroom. Nyla sipped champagne and tried to look comfortable. The conversation swirled around her. Mergers, acquisitions, the kind of money that could buy buildings. She was plotting her escape to the bathroom when a voice cut through the noise. Such a beautiful addition to Ha-Jun's collection. She turned. The man was older, silver-haired, with eyes like chips of ice. He wore his tuxedo like armor and smiled like a shark. Alexei Volkov, he said, taking her hand and kissing it. He held on too long. I've been curious about the woman who finally caught young Beck's attention. Nyla pulled her hand back. Mr. Volkov. Please, call me Alexei. After all, I'm practically family. Your boyfriend's father and I were quite close. His smile sharpened. Before someone put 3 bullets in Jae-sung's head. Dom shifted closer, but Volkov just laughed. Relax, my friend. I'm simply making conversation. He turned back to Nyla. Tell me, does Ha-Jun ever talk about the old days? About the promises his father made? He doesn't talk business with me. How refreshing. A woman who knows her place. Volkov's eyes traveled down her body, slow and deliberate. Though I wonder if you know what you've signed up for. This world of ours, it's not kind to beautiful things. I can handle myself. Can you? He leaned closer, and Nyla smelled expensive cologne mixed with something medicinal. I wonder if you'd still be so confident if you knew how many people want to hurt Ha-Jun, how many would love to take something precious from him. His smile was ice, but perhaps you'll find out soon enough." Before she could respond, Hannah appeared. "Alexei," still making threats disguised as small talk. "Hannah, lovely as always." Volkov kissed her cheek. "I was just getting to know Ha-Jun's lovely companion." "I'm sure." Hannah linked her arm through Nyla's. "Excuse us. Girl talk." She steered Nyla away, through the crowd toward the hallway that led to the bathrooms. Dom followed at a distance. Once they were out of the main ballroom, Hannah stopped. "Are you okay? Volkov's a snake." "I'm fine, he was just being himself." "Poisonous." Hannah squeezed her arm. "Listen, I need to borrow you for a minute. There's someone I want you to meet. A potential investor who's interested in the community development projects. She's in the private lounge." "Shouldn't Ha-Jun be there?" "He's tied up with the board. This is preliminary anyway. Just smile and look pretty. I'll do the talking." Hannah winked. "Come on, it'll take 5 minutes." Dom cleared his throat. "Ms. Beck, I should stay with Ms. Cross." "Dom, it's 50 feet down a private hallway. We'll be fine." Hannah's voice was warm but firm. "Go grab a coffee. You look exhausted." Dom hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. I'll be right outside." They turned a corner into a service hallway. Empty. Quiet. The sounds of the gala faded behind them. Nyla felt a prickle of unease. "Hannah, where?" Hannah's face crumpled. "I'm so sorry." 3 men emerged from a service door. Large, professional, moving with military precision. Nyla didn't think. She ran, but they were faster. A hand grabbed her arm, yanked her back. She screamed, kicked, aimed for groins and eyes the way her mother had taught her growing up in Brooklyn. Her nails raked across someone's face. She heard cursing in Russian. "Hannah, run!" Nyla shouted. But Hannah was crying, frozen. "They have David. They said they'd kill my son if I didn't—" A cloth pressed over Nyla's mouth. Chemical smell, sweet and wrong. She tried to hold her breath, but her lungs were screaming. The world tilted. The last thing she saw was Hannah sobbing, and then everything went dark. Ha-Jun returned to the ballroom smiling. The meeting had gone well. Investors were interested in the community development project, the legitimate venture he hoped would clean the family name. He scanned the crowd for Nyla, for that emerald dress that had made his heart stop. Nothing. They found Dom unconscious in a bathroom stall 15 minutes later, a knot on his head. Security footage showed Nyla being carried out through a service entrance into a white van. No plates. Professional. Ha-Jun watched the footage 3 times, watched her fight, watched her go limp, watched them take her. He didn't rage, didn't react. He went cold, colder than he'd ever been. He pulled out his phone and made 3 calls. By the time Hannah stumbled back into the hotel, sobbing and hysterical, Ha-Jun's people were already mobilizing. "They have David," Hannah gasped. "They showed me a picture, my baby with a gun to his head. They said if I didn't bring them Nyla, they'd kill him." Ha-Jun grabbed her shoulders. "Where is Volkov?" "Gone. He left right after—" She broke. "Ha-Jun, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They have my son." "I know." His voice was dead. "Go home, lock your doors. I'll get David back. I'll get her back." He turned to Dom. "Find me Alexei Volkov. I don't care what it takes. Find him." What happens next will test everything Ha-Jun claims to. But first, Nyla has to survive the night. If you're here now, do drop a comment and it really helps out the channel. She woke in darkness. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like chemicals. She tried to move and realized her hands were zip-tied behind her back, attached to a metal chair. Panic surged, hot and immediate. She forced it down. Panic got you killed. Her mother had taught her that too. Breathe, assess, survive. She was in a warehouse. Red Hook, maybe, judging by the smell of salt water and industrial rot. Moonlight filtered through broken windows high above. Shipping containers lined the walls. And sitting across from her in a folding chair, drinking scotch like they were at a dinner party, was Alexei Volkov. "Ah, you're awake. Good." He set down his glass. "I was beginning to worry I'd miscalculated the dosage." "Where am I?" "Somewhere Ha-Jun will never find you in time." Volkov smiled. Would you like some water? I'm not a monster. You kidnapped me. Borrowed. I'm borrowing you to make a point. He stood, moved closer. You see, your boyfriend thinks he can ignore the old debts, build something clean, pretend his father didn't promise me half of Koreatown when we started this empire together. His smile turned cold. You're my message to him. Abandon the past. Lose the future. He'll kill you for this. Probably. But first, he'll give me what I want. Or I'll cut you into pieces and mail them to him one by one, starting with those pretty fingers he loves so much. Nyla's stomach turned, but she kept her voice steady. You really think he'll negotiate? I think he's in love, and love makes men stupid. Volkov returned to his chair. We have time. Hajun's still searching, so why don't you tell me, what's it like, sleeping with a murderer? Keep him talking. Talking meant alive. You tell me you killed his father. Volkov laughed. Smart girl. Yes, I did. Jae-sung betrayed me. Tried to cut me out after I'd helped him. Build everything. So I reminded him what happens to traitors. He leaned forward. But Ha-jun's worse than his father ever was. Jae-sung was brutal, yes, but he understood loyalty. Ha-jun, he thinks he can be legitimate, clean. It's insulting. Maybe he's just trying to be better than you. The slap came fast. Neela's head snapped to the side, stars exploding behind her eyes. She tasted blood. Careful, Volkov said softly. I'm having a pleasant conversation. Don't ruin it. Neela spat blood onto the concrete floor and forced herself to meet Volkov's eyes. If she was going to die tonight, she'd do it on her feet, metaphorically at least, since she was zip-tied to a chair. You're going to kill me anyway. Why should I be careful? Because I can make it quick or make it last days. Volkov refilled his scotch. Your choice. She needed to buy time, needed to keep him talking, keep him distracted, needed to find a way out of these restraints. She tested the zip ties carefully, feeling for weak points. Nothing. Professional job. What did Jae-sung promise you? Volkov studied her. Curious? I'm tied to a chair in a warehouse. I might as well learn something before I die. He laughed at that, genuine amusement. I like you. It's a shame Ha-jun found you first. He settled back in his chair. Jae-sung and I built Koreatown together. The restaurants, the real estate, the import-export business. We split everything 50-50. But then he got greedy. Started legitimizing holdings in his name only. Cut me out of the profitable ventures and stuck me with the dirty work. So you killed him. So I reminded him of our agreement. Unfortunately, he didn't survive the reminder. Volkov swirled his scotch. Ha-jun inherited everything. I expected him to honor his father's debts. Instead, he's been trying to squeeze me out, legitimize the business, pretend we don't exist. That's not how this works. Maybe he doesn't want to be like his father. Maybe he shouldn't have inherited his father's empire. Volkov's eyes went cold. You don't get to pick and choose. You're either in this world or you're not. Ha-jun wants to be legitimate? Fine. Give me what's owed, and he can play real estate mogul. Keep fighting me, and I'll destroy everything he loves. Starting with you, his expression said. Nyla heard footsteps, guards patrolling outside. At least 3, maybe 4. Even if she got out of the zip ties, she'd never make it past them. Unless... She noticed a piece of broken glass near one of the shipping containers, 10 feet away. Might as well be 10 miles. Can I ask you something? Nyla said. You're full of questions for someone in your position. Do you have family? Volkov's face shuddered. I have sons. Do they know what you do? They know I provide for them. That's enough. Is it? Nyla leaned forward as much as the restraints allowed. Because Ha-jun knows exactly what his father was. He watched Jae-sung build an empire on blood. And now, he's trying to be different. Trying to build something his future children won't have to be ashamed of. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for weakness. Volkov stood. And in this world, weakness gets you killed. He walked toward the door, and Neela felt panic surge. If he left, if she was alone with the guards... Wait, tell me about the partnership, the beginning. Volkov paused. Why? Because I want to understand. I want to know what Ha-Jun owes. What she really wanted was to keep him in the room, keep him talking, buy Ha-Jun more time to find her, but Volkov seemed to consider it. Then he returned to his chair. We met in 1997. Both of us had nothing. Me fresh from Moscow, Jae Sung fresh from Seoul. We recognized each other, you understand? Two immigrants who refused to stay in our place. We started with a restaurant in Koreatown, then another. Then we realized the real money was in real estate. His eyes went distant. We were brothers. I was best man at his wedding. He was godfather to my eldest son. What changed? America changed him, made him think he could be respectable. But you can't wash blood off money no matter how hard you try. Volkov looked at her. Ha-Jun will learn that. Tonight, probably, when he comes for you covered in blood. He's coming? Of course he's coming. I'm counting on it. Volkov smiled. This warehouse is a trap. Beautiful girl. He'll come for you, and my men will be waiting. I'll offer him a choice. His empire or your life. And we'll see what matters more. Nyla's heart hammered. He'll choose me. Will he? Volkov tilted his head. Because I've seen men in love before, seen them make promises, but when it comes down to it, when they have to choose between power and a woman, power wins. Every time. Not Ha-Jun. We'll see. Footsteps pounded outside, shouting in Russian, gunfire, sharp cracks that echoed through the warehouse. Volkov stood smoothly, pulled a gun from his jacket. Ah, right on time. The warehouse door exploded inward. Ha-Jun came through first, gun raised, Dom and 4 other men behind him. His eyes scanned the space, found Nyla, and something in his face cracked open. Relief, rage, love. Let her go, Alexei. Or what? Volkov pressed his gun to Nyla's head. She felt the cold metal against her temple and forced herself not to shake. You'll shoot me. You might hit her. Your men will shoot. Same problem. Seems like you're at a disadvantage. Ha-Jun lowered his gun slowly. What do you want? Koreatown. 40% of all holdings, signed over by noon tomorrow, and you stop trying to legitimize the family business. We go back to the way things were. Done. Ha-Jun, no. Nyla started, but Volkov pressed the gun harder. Shut up! Ha-Jun's eyes met hers. She saw the calculation there, the cold fury. You have my word. I'll sign the papers. Just let her go. Your word, Volkov laughed. Like your father's word. No, I think we'll do this differently. My men are going to escort you out. You'll go to your lawyer, draw up the papers, and bring them back. When I have the signed documents, she goes free. That'll take hours. Then you'd better hurry. Volkov's finger moved to the trigger. Unless you'd rather I send you home with pieces of her. Ha-Jun's jaw clenched. I'll be back in 4 hours. 3. I'm not unreasonable. Volkov smiled. And Ha-Jun, come back alone, or I'll No. Come back with police, I'll know. Come back with anything other than signed papers, and I'll paint these walls with her brain. Understand? I understand. Ha-Jun looked at Nyla one more time. She tried to tell him with her eyes, don't give up the empire. I'll find a way out. I love you. But then he was gone, and she was alone with Volkov again. The older man released her, stepped back. Smart boy. He knows when he's beaten. You're really going to let me go? If he brings the papers, yes, I'm a businessman, not a monster. Once I have what's owed, you're worthless to me. He returned to his chair. Though I expect he'll dump you afterward. Men don't like being emasculated in front of their women, and watching him choose his empire over his pride to save you, that'll eat at him. You don't know him. I know men. Volkov poured more scotch. In 3 hours, this will all be over. Ha-Jun will resent you for costing him everything. You'll resent him for being the reason you were taken. The relationship will die a slow death. I've seen it before. But they had no idea that Ha-Jun had no intention of bringing papers. While Volkov drank his scotch and lectured Nyla on the inevitability of their breakup, Hajun was 3 blocks away in a commandeered office, assembling an army. Not just his men. Every favor he was owed, every alliance he'd carefully cultivated, every dangerous man who remembered what Jae-sung had built and respected Hajun's attempts to honor it. We hit them from 3 sides, he told Dom, spreading blueprints of the warehouse across the desk. Fire team on the north entrance, extraction team on the west. I go through the south with suppressors, fast and quiet. Boss, there are at least 200 men in there. I don't care if there are 1,000. I'm getting her out. Hajun checked his gun, chambered around. Volkov thinks I'm coming back with papers. He thinks I've been beaten. He's wrong. Dom studied him. And if you have to choose, the Empire or her? There is no choice. There was never a choice. Hajun met his eyes. I'd burn down everything my father built before I let Volkov touch her again. The Empire means nothing if she's not in it. Back in the warehouse, Nyla had finally worked one hand partially free from the zip ties. The plastic had cut into her wrists, drawing blood, but blood was slippery. She'd been working on it for an hour while Volkov drank and his guards rotated shifts. 2 hours left until Hajun's deadline. She needed to be ready. Tell me something, she said to Volkov. Why do you hate Hajun so much? He's not his father. That's exactly why I hate him. Jae-sung understood what we built. Hajun wants to tear it down and pretend it never existed. Volkov's words were starting to slur. He'd been drinking steadily. You can't erase the past. You can't build legitimacy on a foundation of blood. But you can try. And you can fail. Volkov laughed bitterly. He'll fail, you know. The Empire will eat him alive, just like it ate his father, just like it'll eat you if you stay. Maybe, but at least we'll try together. Volkov looked at her for a long moment. You really love him? Yes. Fool. He stood, swayed slightly. Love doesn't survive in our world. It gets killed. Slowly or quickly, but it always dies. He headed for the door. I need air, don't go anywhere. He laughed at his own joke and left. Nyla immediately worked harder at the zip ties. Her right hand was almost free, just a little more. The plastic snapped. Her hand came free, bloody and shaking. She quickly freed the other hand, then her feet, stood on shaking legs. She had minutes, maybe, before a guard checked on her. She grabbed the broken glass she'd spotted earlier, held it like a weapon, and moved toward the window. It was 20 feet up, but there was a fire escape. If she could climb... The south door burst open silently. Hajun appeared like a shadow, gun, raised, 3 men behind him. His eyes found her, and relief crashed across his face. Nyla. She ran to him. He caught her, held her so tight she couldn't breathe, and she didn't care. You came early, she whispered. I was never bringing papers. He pulled back, cupped her face, checked her for injuries. The split lip, the bruises forming on her wrists. I'm going to kill him. Hajun, I'm going to kill him, he repeated, and his voice was death. Gunfire erupted outside, the distraction teams engaging. Volkov's men scattered, shouting orders. In the chaos, Volkov himself appeared from a side office, gun drawn. You couldn't just do what you were told, he snarled. Hajun pushed Nyla behind him. You took her. You hurt her. You really think I was going to let you live? Noble. Stupid. Just like your father. Volkov raised his gun. Everything happened in seconds. Hajun aimed. Volkov's finger tightened on the trigger. Dom shouted a warning, and Nyla grabbed Hajun's arm. Don't, she said. Don't kill him in cold blood. You'll become exactly what he thinks you are. He took you. I know, but killing him makes you your father. She stepped in front of him, blocking his shot. Let the system handle it for once, please. Hajun's hand shook. The gun wavered, and in that moment of hesitation, Dom moved. He tackled Volkov, disarmed him, had him on the ground in seconds. FBI's 2 minutes out, Dom said. We found enough evidence in his offices to bury him for life. Money laundering, kidnapping, attempted murder. He's done. Volkov spat blood. "You're weak, just like I said." Hajun knelt beside him, gun pressed to his temple. "No, I'm smart. Because killing you would feel good for about 5 seconds. Watching you rot in prison for the rest of your life, that'll feel good forever." He stood. "Enjoy your cell, Alexei. I'll make sure it's very small and very dark." The FBI arrived in a parade of black SUVs and tactical gear. Volkov was dragged away in handcuffs, screaming threats in Russian. His men surrendered or scattered. By the time the sun rose over Red Hook, 17 arrests had been made, and Alexei Volkov's empire was in ruins. Hajun refused to let go of Neela's hand through all of it, through the statements to federal agents, through the paramedics checking her injuries, through the ride to the hospital where they stitched the cuts on her wrists and gave her something for the pain. "I'm okay," she kept saying, but he wouldn't listen. "He had a gun to your head. You're not okay. I'm not okay." They found Hannah at the hospital too, reunited with her son David. The boy was shaken but unharmed. Volkov's men had kept him in a hotel room with cartoons and pizza, more bargaining chip than hostage. Hannah was sobbing, holding him, apologizing over and over. "I had to," she said when she saw Hajun. "They had my baby." "I know." Hajun pulled her into a hug, David sandwiched between them. "I know. It's over now." But Neela knew it wasn't over. Not really, because she'd seen something break in Hajun when Volkov had pressed that gun to her head. She'd seen the wildness in his eyes, the barely leashed violence, and she knew that what came next would be harder than the kidnapping. They went back to Hajun's penthouse as dawn turned the city gold. Dom stationed guards at every entrance. Hajun poured them both whiskey neither of them drank, and then Noila finally broke. "I can't do this," she whispered. The tears came hot and fast. "I thought I could. I thought I was strong enough, but tonight, being taken, zip-tied, waiting to see if you'd find me before he killed me." "I will always find you?" "You can't promise that." She was yelling now, 18 hours of terror pouring out. "You can't promise I won't die because of you. Your father died. You got shot tonight. Yes, I saw the blood on your shoulder. Don't lie to me. How long before it's me in a body bag?" Hajun tried to pull her close. She fought him, beat her fists against his chest, sobbed against the expensive fabric of his shirt. "I know," he said quietly, holding her through the storm. "I know. And if you want to leave, I'll let you go. I'll buy you a house anywhere you want. Europe, maybe, or California. Somewhere far from this world. I'll make sure you're safe. I'll set up accounts so you'll never worry about money. I don't want to leave, you idiot." She looked up, tears streaming. "That's the problem. I should want to leave. Any sane person would. But I want you. Even though you're dangerous and possessive and your world tried to kill me, I still want you. Then stay." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. Tasted salt and fear and love. "Stay and let me spend the rest of my life keeping you safe." "You can't promise." "I can promise I'll die trying." His voice cracked. "I can promise that. Losing you would destroy me. I can promise that I love you more than the empire, more than the family name, more than my own life. Is that enough?" She looked at him, at this dangerous man who'd walked into a trap for her, who'd been willing to give up everything for her, who was shaking in her arms like he was the one who'd been kidnapped. "It's enough," she whispered. "But I need conditions. Anything. Self-defense training, real training. Dom teaches me to shoot, to fight, to escape. I won't be helpless again. Done. Transparency. You tell me about threats before they become kidnappings. No more protecting me by keeping me in the dark. Okay. Therapy. For both of us. To process this. To build healthy boundaries. Or as healthy as we can manage." Hajun nodded. "What else?" "An exit plan." Her voice was steady now. "Money in an account only I can access. A passport, a safety net. Because loving you doesn't mean losing myself. And if the day comes when this world is too much, when I need to leave, I need to know I can." Something painful flickered across his face, but he said, "Okay, I'll set it up tomorrow." "You agree? Just like that?" "Just like that." He cupped her face. Because I'm learning that love isn't possession. It's partnership. It's trusting you to choose me every day instead of trapping you so you have no choice. He smiled, sad and genuine. Your therapist is going to be proud of me. She laughed through her tears. We're insane. Probably. He kissed her. But we're insane together. They slept for 14 hours, tangled together, neither willing to let go. When Nayla woke, Hajun was sitting by the window staring at the city. There was a new hardness in his eyes. What are you thinking? She asked. That I need to finish what my father started, not the violence, the legitimization. I need to get us out of this world completely. No more territory disputes. No more men like Volkov. He turned to her. It'll take years, maybe 5, maybe 10. But I'm going to build something clean, something our children won't have to be ashamed of. Our children? He crossed to the bed, knelt beside it. Someday, if you'll have me, if you'll trust me with that. Nyla ran her fingers through his hair. Ask me again in a year, after therapy, after we've proven we can survive in daylight, not just darkness. Deal. The months that followed were hard. Nyla started therapy twice a week. Hajun joined her for couples sessions, where a patient woman named Dr. Kim taught them to communicate without the intensity that usually ended with them in bed or fighting. Dom taught Nyla to shoot at a private range in New Jersey. She was a natural, steady hands, good eye, no hesitation. Hajun looked proud and terrified in equal measure. The nightmares came for both of them. Nyla would wake gasping, feeling phantom zip ties on her wrists. Hajun would wake screaming, reliving the moment he'd seen her with a gun to her head. They learned to hold each other through it, learned to talk instead of hiding. Hannah's relationship with them was complicated. She'd betrayed them to save her son. They understood, but trust took time to rebuild. Eventually, over dinners and wine and David's birthday parties, they found their way back to family. The FBI's case against Volkov was airtight. Money laundering, racketeering, kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. Hajun made sure he was sent somewhere very far from New York. And then, Hajun did something that shocked everyone. He started divesting from the family's questionable holdings. Piece by piece, he sold off the gambling dens, the protection rackets, the import-export businesses that weren't quite legal. He took the money and reinvested in legitimate real estate development, affordable housing in Koreatown, community centers, small business loans for immigrants. The old guard was furious, but Hajun had learned something from nearly losing Neela. Power built on fear wasn't worth having. 6 months after the kidnapping, on a spring evening that smelled like rain and new beginnings, Hajun was cooking dinner in his penthouse. Neela was sketching at the table. She'd started freelancing again, building her own client base, her own career. The flowers he'd sent that Friday sat in a vase by the window, dahlias and peonies, their weekly tradition. He set a plate in front of her, jerk chicken that had finally gotten good after months of practice, plantains, rice and peas, and nestled beside the plantains, a ring. Nyla's breath caught. I know we said we'd wait, Hajun said, kneeling beside her chair. But I've been waiting for you since the moment you walked into my office with that first cup of coffee. I've been waiting through 18 months of pretending not to love you, through the kidnapping and the therapy and learning to be better. He took her hand. Marry me. Not because I own you. Not because I'm trying to trap you, but because I choose you every single day, even when you're mad at me for being controlling, even when I'm terrified I'll lose you, especially then. You're impossible, she whispered. I know. Marry me anyway. Nyla looked at the ring, an emerald, her birthstone, set in platinum. She looked at this man who'd walked through fire for her, who'd changed his entire world for her, who was kneeling in his designer kitchen with jerk chicken getting cold and hope naked on his face. Yes, she said, but if you ever have me followed without telling me again, you'll leave, I know. He slid the ring on and his hands were shaking. I love you, Neela Cross. I love you too, Beck Hajun. She pulled him up, kissed him. God help me. They were married 6 months later in a private ceremony in his penthouse. Hannah stood as maid of honor. Toby walked Nyla down the aisle, crying the entire time. Dom stood as best man and didn't cry, but his eyes were suspiciously bright. David was ring bearer and took his job very seriously. The wedding was small, just family and the few friends who'd stuck around through the chaos. No press, no society pages, just them, choosing each other in front of the people who mattered. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Dom muttered, "I object to not getting overtime for this," and everyone laughed. The kiss was soft and sweet and full of promise, and when they pulled apart, Nyla whispered, "No more guns to heads." "No more guns to heads," Ha-Jun agreed. "Just you and me and whatever comes next. Deal." They honeymooned in Seoul, where Ha-Jun showed her his mother's hometown, and they visited his father's grave. Nyla left flowers, peonies, because even monsters deserve forgiveness from their sons. When they returned to New York, Beck Holdings had been restructured. The old empire was gone, replaced with something cleaner, still powerful, still wealthy, but legitimate. Ha-Jun's enemies were fewer, his allies were stronger, and Nyla had her own office now, head of community outreach, designing programs that gave back to the neighborhoods that had built them. It wasn't perfect. Ha-Jun still got jealous when men looked at her too long. Nyla still had nightmares about the warehouse. They still thought about boundaries and control and the 100 small ways trauma lived in their bodies. But they were trying, and some days, trying was enough. 1 year after the proposal, Neela came home to find Ha-Jun in the kitchen, cooking again. There was a new bouquet on the counter, dahlias and peonies, always their flowers. The card read, "For the woman who chose the monster and made him want to be better. Happy anniversary. H." She wrapped her arms around him from behind, pressed her face to his back. "I'd choose you again. Even knowing everything you know now? Especially knowing everything I know now." She turned him around. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" He kissed her, slow and deep and certain. "We're going to be better than okay. We're going to be extraordinary." And standing there in the kitchen with burned plantains and 2 perfect flowers, with a man who'd learned to love without consuming, Neela believed him. The city glittered outside their windows. Dom was stationed downstairs, always watching, always protecting. Hannah texted a photo of David at soccer practice. Toby sent memes about married life. And inside the penthouse that had once felt like a gilded cage, 2 people who'd found each other in darkness were building something that could survive the light. It wasn't the fairy tale Nyla had imagined as a girl growing up in Brooklyn. It was better. It was real. It was theirs. And that was enough. Before you go, drop a comment and tell me, could you forgive someone like Ha-Jun? Would you choose love in a dangerous world? Or would you run? And if this story kept you hooked, smash that like button and share it with someone who loves dark romance. Your girl needs those views, and I've got more stories coming that'll wreck you in the best way. Subscribe so you don't miss them. Trust me, you'll want to see what I do next. Now go forth and make questionable romantic decisions. Or don't. I'm not your therapist.